How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Trades and Grades YouTube channel. I am Noah Wright, and today we're going to be going over our very first rookie profile for the class of 2023. I've been saying it for weeks. We're going to be getting to these rookies. The Dynasty season is over, but at the same time, it's just getting started. We're going to be getting ready for this draft here in April. And without further ado, our very first guy is Sean Tucker. Let's get it. All right, guys. I put out a little poll in our community here on the Trades and Grades channel. I said, what do you guys want? Who's the first guy that you guys want? I put a list of 4 different running backs. I didn't put the big 2, didn't put Bijan, didn't put Jahmyr Gibbs. We want to start off with something, some of those guys that we need to differentiate the tiers. They're kind of the same tier right now. And so we put out a poll, overwhelmingly Sean Tucker. I was surprised. But it's a pleasant surprise. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel. If you didn't vote in that poll in the community, subscribe to our channel, check out the community tab as well. I'll be posting polls there pretty frequently. And if you guys have any questions every Tuesday, I put out a Dynasty Trades Tuesday video. And if you put your trade questions down in the comments, I'll answer them, and you might even show up in a video where I'll grade your trade. But yeah, I think that's all we got. So let's get into Sean Tucker's rookie profile. Now, I have been a Sean Tucker fan for a while. One, because of his Twitter account. I love his Twitter account. Every single game he'd post afterwards, whether he thought he did, well in his performance or if his team did well. Always hungry. He's, always striving to get better. Very respectful young man. I say that as he's like a couple years younger than me, so sounds kind of silly, but legit, he seems like a good dude. But from a fantasy football perspective, what can we expect out of Sean Tucker? So there's a couple different things that I'm going to look at, and we're going to go through this process. So if you stick with me here at Trades and Grades, we're going to go through the same thing for every profile, and then you guys will start to understand kind of what I look through in rookie profiles, and obviously, listening to other people helps as well. But this is kind of what I have gone through. So here's like the 5 things I'm looking at when it comes to running backs. Biggest thing, draft capital. And, it sounds easy. It sounds kind of simple, but in reality, that's just kind of how it goes. You want the highest chance of having a running back 1 on your team. And the biggest denominator at the end of the day is draft capital. Look at draft capital, and you look at, historically speaking, first rounders, really high chance of becoming a running back 1 at one point in their career. Not round 2, a little bit less, quite a bit less actually, and then it goes down the list, and it's pretty correlated. So draft capital is huge. Early declare, or I put 21 at draft. The database I uses the age that they get drafted at. So normally you'd use early declare, but for my database that I have, which if you ever want to use anything with statistics, it is Dave Wright. He is the database I use. It's FF Spaceman. If you go on Twitter, fantastic. It's like $3 a month, I believe. Fantastic database. I use it every day when I'm looking at different prospects. So size. You want a running back that's kind of a thick guy, right? You don't want a guy who's prone to injury. Maybe he's get tackled, early on, can't get any yards after the first touch, and so you want a guy with a pretty decent size. Breakout age. I put this. We'll talk about it here, and we'll see what graphs I have to show you guys on why that kind of matters. And then film grade. Film grade is completely subjective, right? That's what I'm looking at. But if you're watching this, it's because obviously you believe in my analysis more or less. So it's very subjective, but we're going to go through this and see what's up. So first thing, we're going to go ahead and look at his production throughout the year. So freshman had a pretty solid start. This is the COVID year, but his dominator rating is pretty solid. We'll talk about that in a little bit. 626 rushing yards, pretty good. Yards per carry, Saw a little bit of receiving work, but not a whole lot. Saw it not sophomore year. This is where he picked up, kind of made a name for himself. Almost 1,500 yards on the ground, over 6 yards per carry. He had the receptions, jumped up, receiving yards, has the rushing touchdowns. Junior year, this year, kind of slowed down a little bit, didn't have the same volume, but we love to see the receiving work. 36 receptions, still had those touchdowns, still 1,000 yards on the year, and over 5 yards a carry. So looking pretty solid there from a production standpoint. I have no issues with that. He was fantastic his sophomore year, just completely dominating for that Syracuse offense. His freshman year, they were terrible. Oh, they were horrible. So that is, we like to see that. His draft capital as of right now. Now this will change a ton, right? So this is January. So if we're watching this video in a couple months, it might be completely different. But as of right now, currently projected late third. You can see it's dipped off dramatically in the last month or so. He was in the middle of the second, and I don't really know why he's fallen down so much, almost to that 100 pick. I think that he should be a lock for the third, I would hope. I've heard some things that the NFL doesn't particularly like in him, and we'll talk about that a little bit, I guess, but I like him a lot, maybe to a fault. I think he's an extremely athletic profile, and I don't really know why he's fallen so much, but third rounders have a 21 since 2003 per this database I'm using. Since 2003, 21% chance that they're going to have a running back one season at one point in their career. Now, when we factor all the stuff in that we're doing here, obviously it's going to be higher if he hits these certain parameters. But if we're just basing off of only draft capital, third round draft capital, 21% of having a running back one season at some point in his career. So another thing we like to look at, how old is he? Is he an early declare? Now this usually matters more for wide receivers, but we like to see a guy with less tread on his tires, typically, and he will be an early declare. He's 21, and so again, not a huge thing, but it's just something we like to see younger guys come out. That way, you're not getting 23-year-old rookies like Najee Harris, and all of a sudden he's 24, and then he's going to get into his third year, and it's like now you're trying to sell him because he's already getting to that point. And so now Sean Tucker, younger guy, would like to see it. Size, he's got a pretty solid size. He hits the 5'10" mark. He's about 210, depending on where you look, maybe 205. If he's a 210, he just gets over the BMI. These aren't like the end-all be-alls, but there are things you like to see. You don't want your running back always constantly hurt. DeAndre Swift, as much as I hate to say it, guy like that. Now, I know injuries you can't predict injuries, and I agree with that 100%. But if you're a bigger guy and you're taking hits, it's more than likely you're going to be able to absorb them better than a guy that's smaller. So, and it goes the same thing with like breaking tackles, right? So he's got decent size, 5'10", 210, 205 pounds, but once the combine comes around, it's be 210 pounds or so. So fine size. Now we look at breakout age, and I want to put this on here for you guys. This is from Campus to Canton. Another great thing if you love looking at statistics, data, stuff like that. But here is the dominator rating. So dominator rating is essentially, if you know what that is how much of the offense that you are hypothetically, that this player is. How much of the offense is he? Is he dominating his team? Running the offense through him, and we can see here you want to have essentially a breakout is anything above this line. Now you can see this line here. That's the regression line, average of running backs for the top 12 seasons. So running back one. So if you're above that line, the NFL running backs, I think it goes back to 2010. So all of the NFL running backs who've had a running back one season are put into this line. And that's where you want to be above that. If you're along that line or above it, then hypothetically you're on track to be a running back one at some point in your career, right? Hope that makes sense. We can see Sean Tucker's freshman year. Absolutely insane. Now, granted, COVID year, kind of weird. Their team was terrible, right? They were horrible. And so it's hard to say, whether some of those stats are, if he would have played a full season, would it be different? At any rate, he was dominating, and he was dominating as a freshman, right? 18 years old, fantastic. So that's something we love to see. He came down a little bit in year 2, even though talked about last year, he played fantastic. It's almost hard to replicate such a dominating season as he had. I mean, you can see here in year 3, Brees Hall was the only person, and then Kenneth Walker, to have more dominant seasons just in general. Now, we could add a ton of guys on here, but I just want to put some guys on here that are notable from the last couple of seasons so you guys understand where Sean Tucker is in relation. Now, this third year, I expect him to fall quite a bit. I think he'll still be around that line. They haven't put it in yet, but you can see I circled year 2 with the fantastic year last year. And I think he'll be probably close to Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne area, but it's still a very good season above running back 1 regression line. So we're going to move to the film breakdown, and I would show film, but I don't know with all the copyright stuff like that. So I'm just going to talk about what I see on film. And if you guys want to watch film, which I highly recommend, I talk about everything I see here, but there's going to be stuff that you guys see that I don't. And so if you want to watch film, I'm going to put a link in the bio. DynastyNerds.com has the best, and I mean the best film room. It's not even close. You find all 22 tape. If you don't know what all 22 tape is, essentially you get to watch the play from the broadcast, and then you run it back, and they will show you another angle right after of either behind the line or on the other side of the line, and you get to see the holes for the running back. It's so much easier to grade these running backs when you have all 22 tape because you can see what they see. When you're watching the broadcast, you can't see that. So it's extremely important, right? I didn't have any all 22 tape for Sean Tucker. They don't have it in there yet. They have a couple games. So that's what I base my analysis off of. So this is going to change probably, but this is all I got. So I'm going to give it to you guys. His strengths, acceleration. This dude looks like he's shot out of a cannon. I mean, unbelievable. As soon as he gets the ball, he's 5 yards in front of wherever he was 0.2 seconds later. He just goes flying. His lateral quickness, his best, when Sean Tucker is at his best, is in the open space. If he's in open space, good luck. Because his lateral quickness, his lateral agility, be able to juke people out, his elusiveness is another thing. I don't say elusiveness is quite a strength, because when I think of that, I think of more of like slithery, get out of people's way. Brees Hall was more like that, in my opinion. This guy is just very direct, like aggressive cuts. And he's a track guy. He ran track super fast. You get him out in open space, see you later. And that's another thing was he's not the biggest guy, but his power. When he gets into the hole, he's just running people over. I personally think he reminds me of Dameon Pierce a little bit last year, that type of playing style. I think he's a better athlete than Dameon Pierce by quite a bit. So if you want to think about guys from last year, that's closer to what I would imagine. I'm not saying the same profile, but that type of running. Now we get to weaknesses. Vision and patience. You think, okay, running back, he can't see the line. That's an issue. And there have been times where he definitely had issues. I think finding the hole again. Didn't have the tape from all 22. We'll get to it. Maybe we'll make a revised version. But as of right now, looked like he had some struggles with that. And as soon as he gets the ball, he's off. He doesn't ever wait for the line. I think if he waited to be able to see where the line's going, where he needs to adjust, he would have a much better time. There were a lot of times in the games that I watched where he did have like that 1/2 second of patience, and then he'd bounce the outside and he's gone. I almost put that as a strength. He's able to get to the outside extremely well. So if he can find a way to do that, then I think he'll have success at the next level. So here's what I have him right now. This is super flex. So if you're in a 1 QB league like I am, my home league's 1 QB. I have other super flex leagues, but home league's 1 QB. I would just take away like 2 players, right? Stroud and Bryce Young, and then that's where you're at with this. But the 106, I think you have Stroud, Bryce Young, Bijan, and then Jahmyr Gibbs. And then after that, I think you should take Jackson Smith-Njigba easily over Sean Tucker, but then I could see people starting to take Sean Tucker at the 107, but I could also see people having Zach Evans, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, all over him, and he falls to the late first. So that's where I have him right now. If I had to guess, again, up to change. We have 3.5 months for things to change. So I'm sure things will at the combine. But yeah, that's where I have him about right now. So if you're trying to figure out, where should I target him? 106 might be a little bit early. It'll probably be closer to 112 if I had to guess. But yeah, that's all I got. That's the rookie profile for Sean Tucker. If you guys like this, I'm gonna put another poll in the chat and see who I should do next. I'm gonna keep doing these every Friday, so come back every Friday. I might have to start doing more a week just to see where I'm at on time, like week wise. But yeah, I really appreciate it. And if you guys haven't seen yet, I've done new running back rankings. Go ahead and check them out right here. If you like all things Dynasty, appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.